Hi, guys, and welcome back on our podcast. And in this week's episode, I'm gonna speak about the fact that moving on and just healing doesn't mean forgetting. So, yeah, guys, enjoy. So, we usually heal or want to move on from something when we are miserable and we see that it's affecting us in our day-to-day life or just affecting us at any point, and you see that you are not really happy with the way your life looks like, and you decide, I don't want to do that anymore, and you decide to pay attention to those stuff and fix it, and that's how you move on. And then you may actually expect that you will forget about the certain events that happened in your life. Me personally, I have such a bad memory that I cannot recall anything that why I had like an issue with somebody or any of that stuff, because I have such a bad memory. So there's like no revenge because I don't remember what happened, but I do remember how I felt in those moments. I don't know why I had this situation or why I had that fight, but I remember how I felt. I think that we can't forget how people make us feel. Like, you cannot describe the feeling, but you know that the feeling was positive or negative. And that's why I think that moving on doesn't mean forgetting, because we cannot forget that. But like when we go through something so deeply, we cannot just forget it. So maybe I cannot recall any fight I had or like was angry with somebody, because that wasn't major feeling for me. It was just like nothing, like it wasn't something that was maybe emotionally engaged. When I was preparing for this episode, I made myself this note, and I have three quotes from Pinterest, and I wanted to read it right now. And the first one is that healing doesn't mean the damage never existed, it means that the damage no longer controls our life. And this is so beautiful, to take your focus of things that make you miserable, and just take the focus on yourself and just pay attention to yourself. Because I believe that being selfish is pretty important in your life, because like nobody will take as good care of yourself as you will, and that in the end of the day it's just like you. I'm not saying that you should not like care about anybody else, but you just should know, I think, that you're the most important person in your life. The second one is, some memories never leave your bones. It's like salt in the sea, it becomes a part of you and you carry them with yourself. And this is something that I think kind of like resonates with the stuff I said previously, which is just that when we go through things and we feel them very deep, like, or just deeply, we just, they're like in our DNA and we carry them with ourselves. And this metaphor is so beautiful because you can never get rid of the salt in the sea. There is always gonna be the sea in the water. You see, you cannot get rid of yourself in your life. And the third one is, because the past doesn't disappear, it lingers inside in our present. And this is also something that makes me feel pretty angry, but at some other point it makes me feel really peaceful, because some stuff I made in my life, I made thought they were like cringe and all of that stuff, and I would love to like forget about them, but I cannot forget about the stuff that made me who I am today, because I don't want to be a stranger to myself. I can create a new person, but I always gonna have a view that when I'm looking in a mirror, I'm gonna always see the person that did all of those stuff in the past. Not like cringe, all of that stuff. I'm gonna always see that person, which is pretty hurtful, because you're never gonna see yourself for who you truly are. But in the same time, you can see that you did that and you're not longer doing those stuff. But then I said in the previous episode that when I do something, I still feel like the younger version of myself, which is pretty hurtful for me. But then you can see that you didn't like what you did. That means you don't like it, because if you wouldn't do that, you probably wouldn't know you hate it. I don't know if that was a good stuff to say. But I guess that's all I wanted to say in this week's episode. I'm really grateful for you listening to this episode, and let me know in the comments what you think about it. And we're gonna hear next Monday. So yeah, guys, have a lovely week.